One way to ask somebody in Hebrew how they're doing, how they are, is to ask the question, Manishma, Manishma, Manishma. It means literally what's heard, but it is one of the Hebrew ways to ask somebody how they're doing. So, Manishma. I like this way to ask somebody how they are because you don't have to change the question, whether you're speaking to a man or speaking to a woman. It's just the one question rather, either way. So you might get the answer back, Tov. Tov means good. We see it in the Genesis creation account. Genesis 1:1, God creates something and he says it is Tov, good. Or maybe you're doing really well. You might want to say Tov me'od. Me'od. Me'od means very. So whenever we put it after an adjective, it intensifies the adjective. Very good. It's actually the same word we saw in the previous slide, na'im me'od. That meant very pleasant. Tov me'od means very good. Or maybe you're having a rough day. Maybe you're sad or sick or mad. You might want to say lo tov, not good. Lo tov. Tov. Tov me'od. Lo tov. Or you might answer the way a lot of Israelis do and say beseder, beseder, beseder. So many of you probably will have attended a Passover seder at some point in your life. The Passover seder is the special meal that they do each Passover, where there's a special order that they do readings and prayers and songs and foods. And that word seder, like the Passover seder, means order. So actually, when we're saying beseder, we are saying in order. So actually, you've heard this word in before at the beginning of Genesis 1:1. The beginning of Genesis 1:1 says Bereshit, in beginning. Why don't at this moment we stop and go to Genesis 1:1 and practice that? I would love for Genesis 1:1 to be the foundations of your studies. It's such an important verse. It is one where if it's true, then the rest of the Bible makes a lot of sense and is really important. And if it wasn't true, then what are we doing bothering with the rest of the Bible? But of course, we know that it is true that God is the one who created the heavens and the earth, and he is on the throne today. So here we go. Genesis 1:1. Bereshit bara Elohim et Hashemayim ve'et haaretz. Let's say that one more time. Bereshit bara Elohim et Hashemayim ve'et haaretz. I'd like you to keep practicing that verse till it just comes so naturally to you to say it. I know it's doable. You can check out the YouTube video that I have linked in the lesson notes to help with that if you need that. So, Manishma. I hope that you're good, or maybe like Israelis, you're in order. That is the equivalent of saying, yeah, fine, okay, everything's in order. It's not super upbeat, it's not terrible, it's just kind of neutral. Beseder, beseder. Or wonderful if you're tov me'od, tov. Or if you're lo tov today, I'm sorry. I hope your day gets better. Manishma. So we will keep building on these questions lesson by lesson until you have a great repertoire of conversation questions that you could ask people. And here, The question word ma means what. This is a word that pops up lots of times in the Bible. It's a very useful one. And then the word nishma, as I said, literally means what's heard. Probably a lot of you will be familiar with the Shema. It is one of the most important prayers in Judaism. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And that word at the beginning, Shema, is the same root letters, the same word really that we have functioning in manishma. And what's so interesting about the Hebrew word to hear is it has a different connotation than our English word to hear. I want to keep pointing out to you throughout our lessons how sometimes we're just missing something in the English. Obviously, I'm so grateful to have the Bible in English. I use the English Bible every day. Very grateful for it. But there's some words that the English translations are just not doing justice to. And for example, this Hebrew word Shema does not mean just to hear something. It means to obey as well. Summed up in this one word, Shema, we have hear and obey. You listen and then you do something about it. You act on what you heard. And so when God is asking us to hear what he's saying, he doesn't want us just have it go in one ear and out the other. He wants us to act on it, to be active. The Hebrew language is actually really active. You might have noticed in Genesis 1:1, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashemayim ve'et haaretz, that actually the word, we say in the beginning, God created, but in Hebrew, especially in biblical Hebrew, they will often put the verb first and then the subject. Hebrew is a very active worldview, active mindset, where it is an emphasis on the verb, an emphasis on the action. I've heard it described once that if you asked a Western English speaker to describe a pencil, they might say, oh, it's long and thin and pointy at one end and an eraser or rubber at the other end. But a Hebrew speaker may well say, you write with it. The emphasis is on the action and what you do with it. So we will enjoy looking at some of these action verbs as we continue our Hebrew studies.